Just for everyone's mind. Okay, Triantia, so who's the boss? Who's in charge? Me or you?
Both of us.
Oh, who's
I am.
Yes. Okay. So if it's something you don't want to do, you don't have to do it. I really mean that. That is important. Okay. So what would you like to get out of this 5-minute master coaching session?
How do I, well, my problem is getting my daughter to do her homework.
Okay. A common problem for mothers, I imagine, around the world. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what would you like?
How do I, well, I don't want to be really, one of those directive people. I want her to feel motivated to do it.
Yeah. So how do you get her to bend and comply utterly to your will, but without feeling like that's what you're doing?
Oh, that sounds awful. I don't.
Okay, do you want to try authority pose that Jamie was doing earlier? By the way, the reason I said the bit at the beginning was because I spotted this in. Okay, so the authority pose is this one that Jamie showed. Jamie, would you mind showing it again, just so she's got a roll there? So get yourself a nice firm base, so you've got a solid pose, one leg forward, and it's like if you were to like jump up and down, you'd be there, poof, you'd be able to land, you're solid. No one would be able to push you over right now. Okay, if I was coaching you in person, I might even give you a little nudge. Yeah. Okay. And if you could say out loud, what's your first language? Is it Hindi or Urdu? What's your first language? English? What do you speak? What's your mother tongue?
We speak Hindi, English, Bengali, 3 languages.
Okay. Whatever you grew up with is your first language. Could you say, I'm your mother?
I'm your mother.
Okay. Now say it in a way that's like too authoritarian, domineering, like too controlling, something like that.
I'm your mother.
Wow. Okay, I'm scared. And now say it like a little bit wimpy, bit like California mum, So it's like not strong enough.
So do you want me to stay like this and say?
But now, but just say I'm your mother, but in a way that's just not your daughter's just going to ignore.
I'm your mother.
And how do you normally say?
Sorry, how do I normally?
At your end. Okay, how do you normally say do your homework?
Please, I say it in 2 ways, which are like really diametrically opposite, which is, can you please just sit down and do your homework, please, now?
Okay, can I give you some feedback?
Yeah.
That sounds like you're begging.
Yeah.
Second way? Show me the second way.
Do your homework now. Sit.
That sounds like you're going to kill me and I'm a dog. Okay. All right. So let's try. But I understand people are swinging between 2 extremes of authority, right? Like not enough or too much. So let's try just that middle way. Okay. Nice Buddhist concept. Middle way of authoritative, but still kind. Like, hey, I'm your mother. I've got authority, but I don't have to shout. Any language.
Do your homework now. It's time.
Great. And you know what I felt there? I felt like, okay, it's time to do my homework, but I don't have to be scared of you. I felt like that's just the law. Mum says that's how it's going down. How did it feel to you?
Unfamiliar.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does it feel when you buy new shoes?
How does it feel when I
buy new shoes?
Losing your voice. Somehow.
How does it feel when you buy new shoes?
When I buy new shoes?
You have to wear them in, right?
It's uncomfortable in the beginning and a little tight and not used.
Yeah.
I'm not used to them.
So it's maybe a bit like that at first, right? So you might need to practice this. Okay, I recommend you practice it when you say daughter, your daughter isn't around. I recommend you practice it just on a daily basis for like 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, are you willing to do it for 30 seconds? Yeah, with the pose. And then obviously you don't have to do that pose when you talk to your daughter, but you know the energy.
Okay.
Okay, what have you learned?
That there is to access my be able to access my authority and my kindness at the same time.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that could be your question when you do the pose, is how is it to be authoritative and kind? Have that as a question, find that in the body, practice it on your own, then apply it with your daughter when you need it.
Okay.
Sound good? Jamie's giving you lots of love right now. Yeah, the other way you can do it, Jamie's showing, is to touch the heart. Thank you, Jamie. And then to do the pose from here. And that will help you access the sort of love within the authority.
Mm.
You're only being authoritative because you care about her, right? You want her to do her homework so she does well. I mean, it's coming from love. It's not coming from any nastiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet I don't want her to bend to my will or anything or become extra compliant. I just want her to choose to do something. So this might be the way to do it too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there's probably more there we could work with, but hopefully that gives you something to practice. We've explored the idea of authority coming from love rather than coming from abuse, and you don't have to be wimpy or shouty. You've got this middle ground of being able to be loving with your authority, yeah, and not just telling you that. You can read a book on that, but actually giving you a felt sense of it so you can practice that.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. So let's all give her a bit of sparkles or namaste or whatever you want to do. All right. Thank you so much. So does anyone got any questions on the coaching process? We're not going to, don't give her advice. I can see some of you typing. All right. You're not here to coach her. So we're not here to comment on her life and her parenting and her process, but any commenting or questions about the coaching and how I use the pose. Let me talk you through what happened. So as soon as I saw her, I went authority. So this is why I was a little bit careful about the like who's in charge thing, because I could feel a thing. And that also can make sense if you know about cultural stuff as well. And then gender, blah, blah, blah. So there was that right at the beginning. And then she started to tell me the issue. And I just picked the most relevant pose to the issue. So being a mother is a kind of authority. She's talking about getting her to do her homework. That's a kind of leadership. So I immediately went, okay, authority pose is probably going to be helpful. That was mostly intuitive, but it turned out it was pretty spot on for the issue. Then we looked, I just got her just doing things in that pose. We could have gone more into how does she feel in that pose? Does she feel at home? Does she feel not at home? We didn't do that, but we could have gone more into that. Yeah. Then she just very easily gave me this polarity of like, you know, too extreme or not enough. And then she came up with the integration of the sort of more loving authority. And then we gave her a little practice to take away based on that. Okay. So this was perfect classic example of EYP coaching in many ways. The only things we really skipped is I would have taken a lot longer before getting into the pose if it were a client that I had for half an hour. And I also would have gone into like her awareness about how she felt in that pose, but we kind of skipped that part because of the time constraints. Yeah, makes sense. And this is like the first time we've worked together, right? So this wasn't a setup or anything. So it's really easy to coach with EYP. It's really easy. Yeah, German principle. Also, another German principle was help her make a new distinction in the body. So we could have gone at this cognitively. She's probably had some cognitive belief, like to have power, I have to be like shouty or something like that. Right? She probably had that model to her, blah, blah, blah. So some sort of unconscious belief. So we were giving her a new belief, which is you can be powerful and be loving at the same time. Yeah, this is a key confusion for huge numbers of people to do power and love. It's like there's whole books on this, Paul Linden and Adam Kahane. And then we gave her this distinction, but not just cognitively, because people don't believe what they say, they believe what they feel. So, and then she was out, and you could see she was almost like confused at first. She was like, this is like new or uncomfortable, because it was like speaking a new language or something, right? And then, you know, to just wear that in, I kind of pause for a minute and give her a little bit of time to process it. It's like light bulbs going off. She's probably having all kinds of insights now as well. But Triansha, can I just check in with you? How you doing?
Yes to everything you just said about the insights bit, and I very acutely knew that I felt uncomfortable when I was doing the middle pose because it seemed very unfamiliar in my role as a mother.
Right.
Maybe not in my role as a coach or in other situations, but in this particular one, it felt really unfamiliar and there was discomfort.
Yeah, I could see that in her body because like you learn to observe as an embodiment coach as well. So it was like, I could see her like, it was almost like people like making new neural pathways. They're like assimilating something new, like just digesting it. Another thing we could have done based on what she just said is we could have actually looked at different contexts like how authoritative are you in coaching, how you at work, and different, your marriage, whatever, and then take that in to the mothering. Yeah, so you get the embodiment from elsewhere, move it across. Makes sense. So some people are like, I've seen this with a client once, the opposite, right? So I had a client, they're like, I'm just really not confident and I can't tell anyone what to do. And their kid came in, they were like, leave now, mum is doing coaching and I'm really not confident. And it was like the biggest contrast, right? And I was like, right? So it's like you can transfer things across. Does that make sense? Yeah? You can transfer qualities from one place to another by like just looking at how they do it in the body. That's actually much quicker than building a new capacity. Yeah. Cool. Most of us have got quite a lot of range if we look at across our life and across the span of our life, just maybe not within a particular area.